Thank you all so much for coming out. It's really exciting to see a bunch of familiar faces that we've been working with. And also for the new folks, we've put together a 2-hour set of content that I think is going to be really interesting. Hopefully will leave your heads buzzing with information. So I think it's going to be a valuable use of your time. I know it's really precious to have you all out here. My name is Ted Benson. I have the pleasure of being your MC today. And we would like to tell you a little bit about where we think the future of automation as a platform is heading at Instabase. This is a topic that we have a lot of ideas about that I think relate to how Instabase was founded. So Anant Bhardwaj, who's somewhere in the back there, founded Instabase 4 years ago at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. And he sat at a very funny place in the lab. You know, people from outside of computer science probably think all CS folks are the same. But inside, Anant sat at the intersection of systems, machine learning, and human-computer interaction. And these are three areas that don't really talk to each other very often. And from that vantage point, I think he saw a lot of things that were capable in the industry that just weren't being taken advantage of from a standpoint of practice, and dropped out to make good on those, pulled in many more of us along with him, brought in some wonderful investors, some great experimental early customers to iterate with us. And we've been going for 4 years, heads down, very quietly, without talking much about what we've been doing, actually even to the point where we've never really bothered to make a website. And so a few weeks ago when we finally launched, Bloomberg decided to run with the frame of, who are these folks? And so here's who we are. We're a group of earnest men and women who think that in that collaboration with the research labs of the world, working hard, iterating with all of the companies of the world for the past 4 years, a group of earnest men and women who think we've seen a glimpse of what the future of what the next computing platform is after the cloud. And now we'd really like to start sharing what it is that we've been working on, where it is we think that that future is going. And so here's how we'll do it today. I'll be presenting for about 40 minutes along with two great leads from our team, Lydia Gu from the machine intelligence team and Carrie Chang from our marketplace team. We'll give you a tour of what the platform is that we've built, how you can build business apps with it, where it's headed. We'll do some question and answer, get up, shake our legs, have a refreshment break, and then Anant Bhardwaj and Martin Casado from Andreessen Horowitz will have a conversation that'll help moderate about bigger picture industry movements in this space. And then there's a happy hour at, and I forget the name of it, Harding's right after that for those of you who would like to join us. It's a 5-minute walk away. You can just find somebody from Instabase. We'll take you over there. We'd love to continue the conversation over some drinks and dinner and refreshments. So if you leave here with only a single sentence that you remember, or question rather, I'd like it to be this. Why does the world need another computer? Or rather, a new computing platform? It's a bit of an odd question, but I think if you look back at what it is that's really been impactful from the standpoint of how it is we work, you'll realize that collectively, we've only ever built 7, 8 computing platforms. So 3 of them certainly are the desktop computer, smartphones, arguably the cloud is a type of computer. And I think what's important to think about here is that each platform isn't a thing. It's not an app, it's not a single piece of hardware, but it's a cohesive vertical slice of a set of great apps that are productive, a set of tools that make it possible for developers to build those apps, and a platform that makes it reasonable to go move in this space. So arguably, the personal computer is the Office suite. It was before Lotus 123, WordPerfect, and it still is today. That was made possible by toolkits for menus, windows, moving a cursor around. And it seems silly to say, but that's made possible by the platform of a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse, standardized CPUs. You know, mobile apps are largely communication devices. It's your personal day planner. It's a media consumption device. But that's only possible and reasonable in the way that we consume it because there's all of these toolkits for developers to easily drag a map in, drag a GPS location tracker in. And that's only possible because we have these pieces of hardware in our pocket. So one interesting question is, why does the world need a new such platform? And an observation is that you could build any one of these things on the other platforms. There was a day when we used to build databases on the desktop computer. You know, people loved Microsoft Access, but the cloud is a better platform for that. And so what's important to note is that you have linear improvements within each one of these categories. but you get a giant jump in productivity when you identify a new category of computing platform. So why does the world need a new computer, a new kind of computer? We think it's because there's this enormous category of problem that you all deal with every day, we deal with every day. If you walk into any building in any city, go to any floor and ask people what they're doing, you'll find the same answer. They're sophisticated, smart people spending a large portion of their day navigating to the 67th page of a document so they can find exactly the right sentence, they can pull it out, they can interpret the information somehow, combine it with some other piece of information, and then take some action on it. In the front office, this is account onboarding. This is transacting basic business with your customers. In the back office, this might be adversarial media analysis. This might be looking at a market commentary. It could be calculating exposure, risk exposure based on some event that's happening in a rate. In all of these cases, whether it's emails, whether it's news articles, whether it's images, it's some variant of trying to find the right piece of information, extracting it out, doing something with that information, and maybe putting it somewhere else. So what would it mean to have a kind of computer that was built for this kind of problem? Well, it would start with something that looked like this. If we have a kind of computer for lifestyle apps, it means we get these nice big colorful apps we can click on and I can share a photo with my friends or I can order a cab. But today, we don't have the natural computing platform, the natural kind of computer that can make us capable of readily building these apps. Apps for doing adverse media search, income verification, financial spreading. You can certainly ask a programmer to do this for you, but what you end up is somewhat of a boondoggle of code that's not maintainable. It doesn't work with some other system over here. Once that developer changes teams, it's hard to figure out how to maintain it. So where's the nice vertically integrated platform for creating, shipping, and supporting these apps in general? So this is what we've been working to build. We've started with the platform, and we'll go through this today. This is what the remainder of the presentation will be. We started with the platform, making sure that we're infrastructure independent. We can work with whatever it is that a current customer has. Built a set of over 20 toolkits for performing basic functions of document ingest, navigation, interpretation, extraction, summarization. And this quarter, we're launching a solutions marketplace, which allows you to take what you built with those toolkits, put it into an app, share it within your organization, scale it, sell it if you want to. And the end game here is that at the end of the day, a healthy ecosystem of developers can do what they do best, apply their domain knowledge, get right to work, because they're working within a set of toolkits and within a platform that makes it easy for them to build these apps and ship these apps without having to deal with all of the funny business that isn't directly related to what they're trying to do. So to start that off, we're going to start at the very top of this stack at the marketplace. I'd like to invite Carrie Chang up here to present our marketplace solution.
Hello. Thanks, everyone. So very excited to introduce you to Instabase Marketplace, which we plan to launch by the end of the year. Marketplace is an essential part of the whole Instabase experience. Imagine today if someone unboxed a brand new smartphone. The first thing that person would do is probably go open up the App Store on their phone and start to download a bunch of applications that fit their needs. So as we start to design the next computer for business operations, we want to provide the same experience for our users, is that they should be able to go on Instabase and then go somewhere to find this whole category of solutions that address their business needs. And this particular store is what we call the Instabase Marketplace. So my presentation today will consist of a bunch of live demos. So since this is probably the first time that some of you have ever seen Instabase, I'm just going to very quickly give an overview of our platform UI. So this is when you first log into Instabase, this is what it looks like. In Instabase, we have this concept of organization. This is mostly used for access control. So a user can belong to one or multiple organizations. Each organization can have their own storage that hosts their own data. So Instabase itself, we don't store any data. Instead, what we do is that we mount to your data storage. So we can mount to your Amazon S3 buckets, we can mount to your NFS, so your data stay with you. And then here, Instabase also come with a set of platform applications. Most of these applications are tools or building blocks that can help our users create their own business solutions. Ted and Lydia are going to cover the solution creating part next, and I'm going to focus on a marketplace where you can see it's actually one of the apps here. So when I'm first open our marketplace, you can see that we already have a bunch of solutions here that people can just download and run and get value from Instabase right away. So these solutions target specific business use cases, for example, income verification, bill of lading, financial spreading. And who built all these solutions? They're built by us. Over the past few years, we started to create solutions for common use cases that we've seen across our clients. So these solutions are built and tested by the field engineers in Instabase, and many of our clients are already running those solutions in production. Because why do we always have to build things from scratch? If there's something already available out there, then you can just use right away and get value. So these applications, like you see, we handle all kinds of different documents from income verification to like driver license, ID verification, to financial spreading, bill lading, processing receipts, and invoices. So for these are the Instabase provided solutions. And let me step back a little bit and talk to you a little bit of what a solution looks like for Instabase. So let me use income verification as an example. So a lot of these solutions for income verification is you will get a bunch of data as input data. So income verification will process input documents such as 1040, W-2, pay stub, bank statement, etc. And then while different banks have different ways to verify income, one thing they need in common is to be able to extract all kinds of information from those documents. For example, who are the employee, who are the employer, what's the social security number, what's the net pay and total pay, etc. Once the data get extracted, the client can later feed those data into their own internal pipeline, downstream pipeline that contain all the verification logic, or they can program those logic using Instabase. We provide Python and an internal spreadsheet language for people to program custom scripts. But on a higher level, what a solution is it injects a bunch of data. It could be messy, unstructured, or semi-structured data in all kinds of format, like images, PDFs, emails, web pages. And then it does some sort of processing, and then outputs structured data like JSON or CSV for you. So this is what we mean by like automate, like solutions that does automation task. And as we're programming these, creating these solutions and work with clients, we found that our clients are truly the people who are the experts and understand the specific use cases they need the best. So a vision of Instabase is to put the right tools in business users' hands so they can create their own application, own business solutions themselves. Ted and Lydia, again, will cover the solution part, creation part for you later. Here, I just want to highlight that a lot of our current clients are already doing so, running solutions that they created themselves in production. When we think about the automation, it's such a complex task right now. But we believe is with the right technology platform, the future of automation should be a lot easier for business users, not harder. When our clients are already creating those solutions, they're running in production, and with Marketplace, it really gives them visibility within their organization. Many of the clients that we work with are teams that are in charge of driving the automation effort within their company. And so with Marketplace, everybody in the department, in their companies using their automation programs will know that this is coming from the innovation lab, the tech team. Our Marketplace is also designed so that impact can be very easily measured through the number of downloads and executions. And we support versions and handle updates, which are common requirements for software packages. So I'm gonna jump right back to demo here and show you what it looks like to be a user of a solution, what is using a solution could be. So I'm just gonna use this as the same income verification solution as a demo. So we provide both UIs and APIs to trigger and run our solutions. So a lot of time our clients they're using our UI during their QA process, and then they switch to use our APIs in production. So we provide both modes. Running a solution is super easy. What you will need to do is basically, if you remember what I said about solution input, is a set of data, and they can be all kind of data. So here I'm just gonna open a set of income document that could be a pay stub, bank statement, W-2, and all I need to do here is just press run. So this is an income verification solution. So when I run, you can see that all these documents actually got processed, and a solution can extract different fields for different type of document that it recognizes. So the data you extract for a bank statement is very different from the data you want to extract for a pay stub. So you see here are all the data that's extracted for a bank statement, and here it is for pay stub. And you can further switch to this view where you can view each file individually and for what are the fields that's returned for a particular file. So you see here when Instabase solution, what it does when extracting data is that it not only extracts the value of the data, is it big enough to see? But it not only extracts the value of the data, but it also extracts where the value comes from in the original document and how the computer makes this decision to decide, if this value is the employer name. So here you see the red box shows where the data come from, and the blue box shows what are the data here that the computer used to make a decision. So the computer basically recognizes this is an employer name because of the label on top of it. So this is what using an Instabase solutions experience is like. Now I'm gonna hand the presentation back to Ted to show you what building the application solution looks like.
All right, so if we had a kind of computer for solving these sorts of problems that reach out, access your documents the way that you experience them as humans, pull them in and do useful things with them and then deliver them in a way that's useful to you, we would need a toolkit to build these readily. We don't want to just open up a traditional development toolkit and build this the way that Java apps are built, because that would leave us with the kind of applications we have today. So Instabase has spent the last 4 years building, at this point, over 20 different specific development tools in this toolkit. Things like OCR, extraction, summarization, sentiment analysis, all the way to document differencing, web scraping, a variety of tools that tend to be the sorts of tools one needs to perform the activities needed by these apps. We've been using these ourselves to build these solutions, and now we're releasing them so that others can build with them as well. So Lydia Gu is going to take you through a tour of using these toolkits to show an example of what it would look like to build an income verification app from scratch if you start from our developer tools.
Thank you, Ted. All right. Yeah, so what I'm going to show you in the next 6 minutes is how you can build an app end-to-end in about 6 minutes using Instabase's platform. So what I'll do is show you how to recreate the income verification solution that Carrie just demoed in Marketplace so that you can create your own solutions. So as Carrie just described earlier, the problem here is that we have a bunch of documents and we want to extract certain data from them, such as the gross pay, the pay period, identification details like the name and address. And we want to then extract these fields so that they can be used downstream for processes and to determine like income verification levels. So what are the steps for extracting this information? So the input is a bunch of documents in whatever format, and the first step is the OCR and extract text. Then next, we need to define how to extract the data that we're looking for, things like gross pay, pay period, these kinds of fields. And then finally, we need to take the data and transform it into a common format like CSV or JSON so that it can be used for downstream consumption. So what I'm going to show you is kind of like the hello world version of income verification. So we're going to focus on just one type of document for now, the ADP pay stub that's shown in the bottom right here. And I'll walk you through how to create this app end to end. So what I've done here is upload several documents to Instabase. And what we'll do is use Instabase's Refiner project to get started. And so this is called Refiner because what we do is we want to refine data fields from these documents. So here you can see, you can go through, click through our setup flow, and we create the correct like folders and projects and files for you to run your project. You can select the input folder containing your data. And right now, what is happening is we're setting up that pipeline I just described, the OCR step, the data extraction pipeline, so that you can jump in and just start writing your app. So what you'll see in a few moments is a project homepage with quick links to different parts of the project so that you can get started. So first I'm gonna just kind of show the steps of that pipeline I talked about. So there's about 4 steps here. And if we look at the output, the first step, which is the OCR process, and look at the output of that, we have the original document, and then you can see all of the text that was extracted. So if we go back to the flow, the next thing I want to highlight is the refiner step. So this is where you're defining how to extract that data you're looking for, fields like gross pay and tax information. So we're going to go in and edit write this refiner program. So you can use our auto extract feature to just highlight the fields that you want, and it'll use program synthesis to automatically write the program to extract data on subsequent documents. So here, I've highlighted a few fields like pay date, tax information, pay start that I want the program to learn to extract. If it appears multiple times, you can select which reference you want to use. And now the program is running and learning the program and applying that to all of the other input documents. So here you see it's detected those fields for all of the other documents. And if there are any errors, you can provide a few more examples and it'll update the program. So this is our auto extract feature. But if you don't want to use this and you want to write the programs, these extraction rules yourself, we have a new, more intuitive interface that we're launching next year where you can do this. And here you can see the original document as well as the text in a much better layout so that you can write these extraction rules yourself. And what you do is you'll kind of specify what position to extract data kind of relative to labels in the document. So here I'm going to try to extract the start period on this pay stub. And so can't see it anymore, but the date appeared to the right of a label that said period beginning. So I'm going to use a refiner function called scan right to look to the right of that label. So here you can see an editor on the left to edit the formula, as well as documentation on the right for the function if you want to use any additional fields. So I'm going to edit that to be period beginning and run it. And in just a moment, you'll see the output of that program on the original document. So here it's highlighted what it's extracted, the date, which is April 16, 2017, as well as the label that was used to find that data. So let's try extracting another field. We'll try to get the address here. And you can see the address appears below the pay date information. So I'm gonna use a scan below refiner function. And what this does is it looks directly below some label that you can edit, input here. So I'm gonna tell it to look below pay date, a certain number of lines. And what it does is it looks directly below it. And you might want to specify some left and right padding to include some more data. So you can see here at initial pass, it got cut off a little bit. So I'm going to just increase the padding on the right to kind of capture everything until the end of the page. Cool. So now we have that entire text region, but we had said we want to extract just the address and not the name as well. So you can use our semantic data filtering to say that you only want to extract the information that looks like an address. And it'll apply that to that region and just get that piece of information. So if we switch to the output table, we can see the result of running this program on all of the input documents. And you can easily see where the extraction failed. And if we go back to the original document, what we'll actually see is that that piece of information didn't appear in the original document. So at this point, you've created a refiner program, and the final step is to compile this into a binary that you can distribute and use in production. So let's walk through what that process looks like. If we go back to our pipeline view, we can click compile, and this creates the binary file. So if we click into it, we see it's a single file, and when we open it, it opens an interface similar to what Carrie demoed earlier, where you can now just select what input folder you want this to run this program on, and it's going to run the program. So the interface looks a little bit different. What Carrie's demoing will be coming out the end of this year. So this is kind of our existing interface. But the result is the same, where you just have to run it on your input files and you get a set of results. So here you can see the output, the extracted information in a table format. And if you click into it, kind of similar to what you saw earlier, you can see the original file, the extracted fields, and where in the document they came from. So in just about 6 minutes, I showed you how you can create an end-to-end app. And now you have this binary that any user can use to run input documents on. So they don't have to worry about if the app came from the marketplace or if you wrote it internally. The interface is all the same. And you can also actually publish these apps to the marketplace for your organization to use. So now I'm going to hand it back to Ted, who will talk more about the Instabase platform and kind of give an overview of our suite of applications.
So once something becomes visual, as a programmer, once something becomes visual, it's almost easy to forget what's involved in doing something like this by hand if you're a programmer. The task of onboarding arbitrary documents, it doesn't matter if they're Word files, Excel files, images, PDFs, sending them to an extraction step, pulling out different regions of information, working with semantic categories of information, the ability to say, grab me the address, the ability to say, scope this down, clean this up. These are all things that would require reams and reams of custom ad hoc code if you were left to yourself to develop them. So these fundamental building blocks provide a spine on top of which you can begin to develop these applications that go from this to this. And what Lydia and Carrie just showed was an example, starting with the distribution, with the icon, working downward into how you would build such an app for a very simple and narrow use case. But we have over 20 different toolkits of that sort for constructing these sorts of custom solutions. So Refiner is one of these. This Refiner focuses on extraction. Our OCR suite is another. But we have a few more. And so I want to show you a few quick videos just to give you an idea, a mental map of the sorts of problems that Instabase as a platform is capable of solving, so that you can start thinking of either how you could use it in real time, working on documents that you have right in front of you, or to stitch together a business solution that you'd like to turn into an app and then distribute within your company. So one toolkit we have is a differencing engine. So if you take any two documents, PDFs, Word files, images that have been run through our OCR, you can run them through the differencing engine, and you can get a difference in both the text and the visual domains. So if you're a lawyer trying to understand if a contract has changed on the 73rd page because it was faxed back to you, you can essentially recreate those MS Word style red lines. We also analyze pen marks. So if you want to look for signature blocks that have been signed, if you're trying to triage which documents you're going to look at first, looking for margin notes on the side, strike throughs, this can be used in real time if you want to load in documents and look at them yourself via API, in bulk, or as a component of one of these solutions that we're enabling you to stitch together. We can do structural analysis on a document. So if you have a set of forms inside of your company, and maybe you want to convert them to digital forms automatically so that customers can fill them out on the web, or maybe you're just looking to extract them, we can analyze the structure of the document visually using computer vision, suggest what the names of all the fields in that document are, and then we can report to you what we think the programming language little snippet is that you would use in Refiner so that your programmers could then have something explainable to use by themselves. We offer other ways than just spatial ways to navigate a document. So for example, right here, you'll see that we're calling into our natural language processing stack to look for the names of people. So we can refer to things by what they mean, not just what they are. And that's another useful way to navigate a document. Right here, we're doing a spatial navigation. And then we can also help you redact. So if you want to black out a piece of information, white out a piece of information, blur a piece of information, or even generate fake data on top of a piece of information, we can help you do all of those things as part of one of these apps as well. The fake data generation is actually very interesting for folks in regulated industries who have a data science team hungry for training data, but unable to access data that's highly regulated. We can redact by generating fake data that's still useful in training. So here we've replaced all the names with the word redacted, and we've blacked out the total amount on these Amazon receipts. And then finally, we have a robust natural language pipeline for more nuanced interactions with natural language text. So this is an example of a solution we built on top of that pipeline. This example shows an interface in which a user can specify a set of topics they're interested in the news, save that as a named profile, and then there's a second interface that loads these profiles and searches the news for documents about that topic, does a cross-reference against a target entity, and then we'll triage your browsing of those documents based on sentiment. So in this particular case, just timely news, we're searching for WeWork and issues with stock and valuation and fundraising. It will search the news, it'll find you the articles that it thinks are the most relevant, and then it'll find you the sentences in those articles that it thinks you should look at. Now, this is just one potential solution you could build on top of this NLP pipeline. We have a full suite of grammatical analysis, of relation extraction. Relation extraction is of the sort, entity X did action Y to entity Z. We support entity co-reference, as well as a number of other custom plugins that you can provide yourselves. So the final piece of all this is the operating platform. We have the solutions on the top that we've built, many of you can build yourselves. We have the robust toolkit of over 20 different distinct tools you can piece together. And this all sits on top of a platform that makes it easy to run these throughout your organization. And the principles that we try to incorporate into this platform were those that make this productive for you, regardless of what your environment is. One of the things that we, as a bunch of researchers, learned very quickly moving into the enterprise world is that everybody's network looks so radically different. You can't pick and choose any one way of working. And so Instabase is infrastructure independent. Most of our customers use it on premise. We also work cross-cloud. So our copy of Instabase that we use for development on instabase.com runs as a hybrid between Amazon and Microsoft, but we run equally well in an air-gapped environment. We leverage your existing assets. So Carrie mentioned that Instabase doesn't save any data. We think of this as obvious as Windows not saving any data. Windows just uses whatever hard drive you gave it, and so too do we. So whatever your source of record is, we build a mapping into that source of record, and it stays where it is on your network in the format it is. We can connect to it. Our OCR platform guarantees that we can read it, and then we can process it from there and put it back where it belongs. We also want to leverage, more importantly, your existing code and your existing development teams. Because one of the best things in the world that we've realized is where we can provide some of the raw tools that are half-baked, maybe 80% of the way baked, and then lean on all of the excellent teams with domain expertise and specific knowledge inside of our customers' companies to provide that last mile nuanced integration. So this might be training a custom model. It might be providing parameters or examples for one of the off-the-shelf models. It might be as simple as just formatting a date in the right way that a particular company needs. And so all of our toolkits, all of our development apps support plugins. You can upload Python, you can upload trained models, integrate them in. And so if our models work, that's great, but you can add your own as well. And they just become an integrated part of that environment. And when you build one of these solutions and bundle it up in an icon, your custom code gets bundled up with that. And so it becomes part of that app. Finally, every platform gets to pick and choose what are the native things that come for free on the platform. With a mobile phone, for example, you get the sharing cards for free. You get GPS awareness for free. One of the things that we learned is very valuable to provide, quote unquote, for free as part of this platform is end-to-end auditability, metrics, and explainability. The ability to backtrack once you have a decision at the end of the day, a loan was approved or denied, to ask the question why, to go back to see the explanation of why the model made the decision it did, to go back even further and understand why the model even had that set of inputs in the first place, and to go back even further and to see the very pixels from a photograph of a document from 2 years ago with a blurry pay stub that resulted in that loan approval decision. All of that comes automatically across our tool chain. So we've taken extreme care to make sure that each of these components is instrumented such that we're preserving end-to-end metrics, auditability, and explainability. And so that's something that any of these solutions built atop just ships with without any extra effort on the part of the developer, which is a pretty powerful facet from the enterprise perspective. So I'll end here so that we can have some time for questions before we have a chat with Anant and Martine. But I just want to return to this question: why does the world need a new kind of computer? And offer again the suggestion that maybe we have this new universal problem that we're all encountering in many different ways every day. We're all struggling to solve with our existing cloud and desktop style development. And that maybe there's a new category of computing that could deliver the answers to this new kind of problem in a different way that's much more productive for developers, much better at runtime. We really believe in this. We've been working very hard, and we have tremendous gratitude for the customers in this room that have been working with us towards this solution. And for those of you that are maybe hearing us for the first time, we would love nothing more than to work with you towards this kind of solution to a problem, because it's a really big problem. It's impactful. It'll change the way we work. And there's a lot to explore together very productively. So thanks very much for coming today again to listen. I think we have a little bit of time for questions before we kick off the conversation. So why don't I turn it over to anybody whose interests or curiosities have been piqued from this presentation. Yeah. So it's on the roadmap. So presently, our signature detection is more the existential question of is the signature block signed in the current product. We're working hard on, as you all probably know, handwriting is very tough nut to crack. We have various degrees of success with digits, cursive, non-cursive, block letters, and we're working hard to figure out what will be the first shippable version of that. I should note too that because our platform integrates well with whatever all of you already have, if you have, whether it's a licensed engine or just one of the cloud providers that you're currently using, we can pass straight through to that, and you can continue using everything else about the platform, but passing through to, for example, Microsoft has a handwriting engine that works perfectly well. Yes? Yeah, that's a really good question. In terms of us offering a taxonomy, we're waiting to see the kinds of apps that emerge before we start to curate our own taxonomy. But one thing that we have noticed amongst our own clients, so the marketplace as a formal app is new and launching this December. But as Carrie mentioned, our customers have actually been building these solutions and using them as just, you think of it as like .exe files that live on the file system just without the interface to sculpt your experience through them for quite a while now. And the challenge a few years back that emerged was so many of these existed that there were just too many of them and no way to cut through them. So what we've done is build a number of organization and team abstractions, similar to what GitHub has, to allow you to organize, rather than organize the file system, to organize what space it is that you're joining when you join Instabase. And so what'll happen inside a company often is you'll have a center of excellence or a shared team or some steward of a particular category of app. And they'll carve that out as write access for them, but read access with respect to everybody else. And they'll be the keeper of the official set of production applications. And then other developers will develop as appropriate and then transfer control over to them when something's official. With the marketplace, more higher level sculpting of that process is something we're going to bring in officially into the interface itself. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you happen to know how the reading part, the part that reads the documents and identifies certain fields and their values, how that particular part is different from every capture of every advantage. Mm-hmm. So
I unfortunately don't know about the details of their solution, but I can maybe give you a little bit more nuance into how ours works. So we pretty broadly pursue a mixed method approach. So at the top level, we have our own, it's sort of like a pigeon language. It looks like Excel functions. We call it like the refiner function language. And so we use that almost as a user interface. It's less a technique and more the user interface through which everything routes. And what that does is it gives all of our visual tools a common way to display things. If you prefer working as a programmer and typing, it gives you a common style of language to express things. And then we have bundles of capability that map up into that language. And so we actually don't have any one approach. We bundle in many, many different approaches from many schools of thought. And so some of those approaches are spatial in nature. Some of them utilize statistical models that ship with the platform. Some of them utilize statistical models you can train on the fly. Some of them actually do image analysis. So we have, everything from QR code decoding to morphological analysis of the image itself, checkbox decoding, signature detection. And so all of these map up through that language. And so we're very mixed method. My guess is whatever somebody else's methods are, we probably do a little bit of it. And rather than choosing one particular one, we create an environment in which they can all work together.
And then follow-up question that, is there a clean component where it learns over time, or is static the way you indicated?
So several of these developer toolkits do have a heavy training component. Some are trained by us, and then the final few training iterations are done at the customer. Some are fully trained by the customer. So to just give you some examples, one of our components is a classifier to help you route documents within one of these solutions. Another is clustering. It's unsupervised training, but it's essentially training-ish. And then our NLP stack, you can train many parts of it. So if you need to train our named entity recognizer, if you need to train our language models or our topic models, you can also train those yourselves. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So what apps that you'd like clients themselves? Do you guys maintain them, or do clients have to do all the work?
So we maintain some apps ourselves, and we've been shipping them in production for years now to clients. We're just now providing the infrastructure through which this can be made official, and we can provide the storefront, so to speak, and the versioning. So there's a lot that's getting added as part of this marketplace in terms of the lifecycle management of these apps and the discovery of these apps. Our clients also make them ourselves, and because most of our clients run on premise, we don't even have access unless they invite us in to take a look to see what they're building. So in the same way that if you were running Windows or Mac and you were writing a program for yourself on your own desktop, Instabase is similar in that there's an integrated development environment with tools to build and solve your own solutions. There's a marketplace internally. So within your own company, you can bless certain apps as being made official and becoming a member of this marketplace. But that's all within the scope of your own copy of Instabase. It's not something that we would even see unless we were invited to come see it. Yes?
Hey Ted, how are you differentiating between investment in being a platform provider versus a solution provider?
Yeah.
And how are you thinking about the roadmap of solutions? Because it's a pretty diverse set of apps that are available now. And just interested in kind of what the roadmap is between those two.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the great taste-making challenge on our part in terms of carefully spending time. And it's part of why we've been so quiet for so long. We've been really fortunate to have very close partners to work with us and identify what the critical components are that we have to have. The risk, of course, as a small company building a platform is there's infinitely many things one might do. And so we've tried to keep our sails very trim and build the things that are necessary to get core solutions into production. And as we get those core solutions into production, we can start to identify both what are some worthwhile go-to-market solutions at the top of the stack and what's the necessary platform infrastructure at the bottom of the stack. And that we can then begin to expand horizontally out from there. So we think this style of development necessitates us being gardeners of the entire platform at the same time. Because if we didn't do that, we would be back to this style of desktop computing or sort of AWS giant deploy packages where you have a ton of essentially maybe not necessary effort directed at a point solution. Whereas if you think vertically like this, you're able to co-evolve both the specific point solutions, but also the environment through which those point solutions become trivial to create. And so it is something that we have to carefully manage, the growth on both ends, but it's something that we also think is necessary to create this new category of environment in which these apps become possible.
Do you envision bringing any of the solutions that others develop and bringing them back in and making them public?
We would love to. We would like nothing more than to bring in everything from capabilities, the developer tools, and that could be OCR models, it could be handwriting models, all the way to at the top of the stack marketplace solutions. And so that's absolutely a conversation we would love to have with folks interested. I'm full disclosure, I'm probably not the best person to address that since I'm an engineer rather than a salesperson. But I would love to introduce you afterwards to Mark to have a much more informative chat about that. Why don't we I can do that right now. Why don't we break for a few moments, give everybody a chance to stretch their legs, grab a coffee or some water. Thank you so much for watching the presentation, for chatting. In about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll start with a conversation between Anant and Martin that I think should be really interesting about, broadly speaking, automation strategy in the industry as a whole. Between the two of them, they've seen an awful lot, and so they have a lot of interesting things to say, I think, about this space, about where we sit in it, but also more broadly about how to navigate it generally. So I'll kind of sound the chime in about 10 minutes to get collected again. Thanks a lot.